What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, yesterday I talked about the Horizon Street Corner Gathering, Hunters Gathering game. Uh, we looked at the video, we looked at the art, we looked at the animation, blah, blah, blah. And I just took it as a game. I didn't really step back and look at the overall arching uh, motifs or themes or just style that encompasses and what it means to be a PlayStation game. Now, you could say, how does that make sense? Well, it makes sense because they have built a reputation on a certain type of game. And it's an opinion. Some people could say, oh, they're the best games, or some people could say they're okay. What has happened though is that they have made so many of those games in such a succession, literally for a generation. I was going to say a generation and a half, but they haven't made any of this generation. So there you go. That people are getting burnt out. Like, remember when Marvel was just spitting out movies. There was superhero fatigue, literally. And that's not something I made up a phrase. That's what people were saying. Superhero fatigue. And then they tried to do the TV thing, cut the budgets a little bit lower, making it. And then, Wonder Man is an outlier. But, and now there has been enough time since the Russos actually made an Avengers, a superhero movie. So, and they're, I would say that they are the best at making superhero movies. I mean, Sam Raimi's good. I ain't gonna say no. But Russo's they kind of got it right. With that Winter Soldier, Captain America and Winter Soldier. Anyway, so superhero fatigue happened, right? Take a break. Now it's back. We'll see how these movies do. Sure, they'll be fine. But Sony literally took a break this whole generation because they haven't been putting out any. They ain't got no games. They put out no games. They had games. They canceled the games. The games are done. Nah, let's throw it in the garbage. Who's running Sony? The money guy's running Sony. And he said, okay, we spent how much money? How much money are we going to make on this game? I think they should have released it at least to make a little bit of money back so they wouldn't be so much in the red. But, whatever. That's me. That's not you. That's not Sony. Da, 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 da. Anyway, the point is that PlayStation is known for their realistic, hyper cinematic, story-based action adventure games. That's it and that's all. The character is from behind the back, third person, 3/4 view pretty much, bow and arrow. Those are the ingredients. Then you shuffle all the other things like, oh, it's a male, female character, blah, 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 location, blah, time period, blah, fictional, non-fictional, blah, 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 post-apocalyptic. You shuffle all those things. Those are the ones that's the things you can change. But there has to be third person behind the shoulder, has to be sad, doesn't have to be a dad. But honestly, The Last of Us was a dad until the second one when dad got. Just saying. And that's what they've been known for. Like, look at those graphics. Oh my gosh, Death Stranding has the best visuals, and it's not even a PlayStation exclusive, so whatever. But they take it as their own because they ain't got nothing else. And so when you have conditioned your audience, the Ponies and Donkey Unicorns expect a certain level of quality, and you bring out some cartoony Saturday morning cartoon stuff, people ain't gonna like it. Now, some are capping. Some are like, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Oh, it's so pretty. That's whatever. We're not listening to them because the truth is what is actually happening. And I don't see a lot of people saying good things about this. The fact that the whole variety of characters, I'm not saying anything about the variety of characters, but they're a little bit, or a lot of it, let's just say, stereotyped. That's the nice way of saying it, okay? I like the Afro dude. He looks cool. but he's literally Afro Samurai with a bow and arrow. And Afro Samurai is already kind of a satire on the Afrocentric look, right? And they leaned into it. You know, that's kind of what they did. And they weren't like trying to like skirt anything. They were like, nah, stereotype. He's Afro Samurai. He had a little Afro baby Afro when he was a kid. His dad died. He got a big Afro now because he's the man. So they didn't run away from that. But that's what that show was, right? But this is, and they had Samuel Jackson do the voice. So it was like, yeah, let's get the blackest actor, blackest actor, the most soulful actor to give some soul to Afro. But this game is just like, yeah, let's make him look like an Afro man. Let's make this Asian girl a ninja. Let's make Aloy look kind of weird. She don't look like the actress anymore. They cartoonized her, but her face is like squashed and like, I'm not offended by it. It's just a little different look. They got the other dude with the mohawk. He's in it. He looks closer than anything. And they got Big Bad Girl. She's thick. She's thick with 12 C's. I don't know how many C's she got, but when she did the slide and she stopped just short of like sliding off, and I was like, wait, is that supposed to be her ankle? Or I can't understand her anatomy. Okay, there's a problem when I understand that these characters are drawn in a exaggerated, cartoonish type of way, stylized, if you will. But her anatomy is all, her head is this small, her body's this big. I'm like, look, that's okay. She's okay. I guess she's a tank. I think she has a shield. Still, though, she doesn't. I don't. The character design isn't that for her in particular isn't that great, and I think it has more to do with the proportions, and less to do with the fact that she's big boned, big bad girl. But anyway, that's just whatever. That's like, oh, I don't like this. That's part of the art. Whatever. Art is the art. I don't have a problem with the art. What I do have a problem with is these Donkey Unicorns and Ponies accepting what PlayStation is giving them. They're giving them scraps. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. And then they took the extra scraps from Tony Stark's scraps and they made this game. It's not. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, look. We could look at the cinematic trailer and say, ooh, cool animations. Just throw that out the window. That's not the game. That's like looking at Overwatch cinemas and be like, oh, that's cool. And then you go play the game. It's like, that's not really what I saw. I liked it, but, you know. And I would argue that Overwatch's cinematics, their little movie clips and stuff, are like way better than the actual game itself. I don't actually play the game. I played it before, but I was like, it's a shooter thing. It's a bad. And the movie shot. I was like, it's a game. It's not bad, but I'm like, I'd rather watch, Winston do some stuff with Banana. Anyway, pause. Anyway, so we look at the gameplay. And I'm looking at the gameplay. Remember, faces don't even have animation. Like I said, it's early, but whatever. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm like, is this supposed to be like Monster Hunter? And then you look at Monster Hunter, right? Monster Hunter is like, it's pretty nice looking. It's a nice looking game. beautiful, I would even say. I think I played Monster Hunter World. I think that's the one I played. I didn't play Wilds, but I played World. And I remember like watching cinematics or like, some cutscenes or whatever. I was like, and the cutscenes, the characters still look the same outside the cutscenes. So I was like, that blonde chick, I guess she looks like an American or whatever. She got blonde hair. I was like, that's good looking graphics. I look at that. And I'm looking at Horizon Street Corner Gathering. And I'm like, how? I get the art, I get it. But no. Okay, so for a second, imagine if they actually used the original Horizon graphics. Now, I would say that it might be a little difficult because the fidelity would hurt the frame rate and I don't know if it will work as well, because the stylized nature of the art allows them to do things that are ridiculous that wouldn't look right if you just used regular, realistic. But here's the thing that I have a problem with, right? I don't know if I said this in the last video, but Sony literally has Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, right? They have like kind of cornered the market or coined or whatever that specific art style that Spider-Man does, and it's like, it's not realistic. It's kind of cell shaded, comic booky, but it's like framey, but for different reasons it's framey and stuff like that. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, that's dope, that's cool. Why didn't they use that art for this game instead of trying to make it look like Arcane or whatever else? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But the point is that PlayStation is trying to serve up something that they don't quite have experience in. They've been making these realistic, story-based, sad dad walking simulators for a decade at least, right? And now they're trying to do what Fortnite slash Overwatch is doing. And one, you're late to the party. Everybody's drunk. They waited about to close. The last call's about to happen. You were late. Two, what's up, Bert? Two, Horizon, the Horizon franchise, the Horizon world is not as interesting as I think PlayStation thinks it is. Now, the premise is like, oh, post-apocalyptic, dinosaurs, and I forget the nuances of the actual story. It seemed a little more interesting than it leads. I think that the universe is more interesting than how the games show it, and that's an issue because it's like everybody says they like the first game, and I looked at the first game. I saw the ending, and I looked it up, so I was like, oh, that's cool, yeah, okay. Then the second game, I guess Aloy turned into an ice hole, and nobody liked her. And I mean, that's a very important thing, to have a protagonist that people like to play as, since you're playing as the protagonist. Now, what they should have done, or what they should do, is have create your own character or create your own hero. Because I don't know, is there a hero shooter that actually does that? I don't think so. And I understand they want to keep it, but look, they got AI, they have all these techniques, they have all these people. There's a way that they can do it, so you create your own character, limited way, but create your own character and still have them included in cutscenes. I mean, they do it for different games where you change outfits and like, oh, how's the outfit in there? Because it's a real-time cutscene within the game. Do that. Just make sure that your real-time animation and cutscenes and all that stuff is on point. That's it, and that's all. I mean, look, I can say the words and say it's that easy, but obviously it's not that easy. Because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. But at the same time, I believe Sony, PlayStation, they are always striving for like the highest quality in cinematic animation and all these things, which is not a bad thing to do. But with the state of the industry now, there needs to be cutbacks. Now, Sony already fired their whatever blah 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 team to make every game look cinematic and stuff. So I don't know, maybe they just scattered them again amongst all the different studios. I have no idea. But yeah, this landed so poorly that people are calling it Concord 4, which is hilarious. And the fact that like people like Luke Stevens and King and everybody else is like talking about this game in a negative light, I'm like, yo, what the it's like they have a curse that they cannot make a games of service game. This is what this is anyway, by the way, if you didn't know. So it's a 3-person, I guess, co-op Monster Hunter ripoff, for lack of a better comparison. They say in there I think there's 4 or 5 different lands, and initially you'll be able to play not the beta, but when the game launches, you'll be able to play solo with AI companions, and you can play through the story like that. So what's the story gonna be? I have no idea. I don't know how that's gonna work. Whatever. At this point, I have little faith in Sony's ability to make games anymore. Because what's the last game they made? What was the last game? Was it good? I'm trying to think. What was the last game they made? They put out. Oh, it was Ghost of Yotei. Was it good? Debatable. Was it bad? I don't think it was bad. But was it good? I think it was just like, meh. You know, who's talking about it now? Nobody. They say, oh, the sales exceeded expectations and sold 3.3 million. I'm like, you know where I'm going, right? 3.3 million. And they just bragged about shipping 92.2 million. How are you going to be happy with 3.3 million and you shipped 92 million? How does that math even work in your brain? And the fact that they're giving us ship numbers because they're trying to hide the fact that they are lagging behind sales of the PS4. The PS5 is not selling as well as the PS4. Nobody's talking about it because Sony's trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They're trying to say, hey, look how many we made. Look how many we shipped. Sold in. You're doing poorly. The industry is not growing. That's what Microsoft said. That's what Phil said. He said, yeah, man, we got to do something else. And then went to PC. Said, yeah, we got to do something else. Gave PlayStation something to eat because they starving over there. And so I'm like, yo, Microsoft is making that money. You know, you look at, I believe Sony made, was it 2 point something billion off of their third-party games on PC and Xbox? And I'm like, if they made that much money and they're barely putting games, you know that they're going to put more games. When you hear that number, and it's basically free money. That's what Shuhei said. Shuhei said, putting games on PC is like free money. And then you extend that to Xbox because it's just another platform, but they have 50 million. And look, we could get into they only have 50 million, but when it comes to game sales, they're neck and neck with PlayStation. So however you say your numbers is not equating to sales of games. And that's the main problem. But whatever, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, tangent. But it connects to how PlayStation doesn't quite understand what they've created, and they don't understand how to change, how to get out of what they have created. They're trying to throw everything at the wall. Would we say Guerrilla is their best studio? No. Everybody would say Naughty Dog is their best studio, and then maybe Santa Monica, and then Guerrilla. But Santa Monica, they're making a game. Who knows? Corey's making a game. I would say Corey's game is probably the shining light in the PlayStation future games. That's probably not coming out until next generation, 2030, I would say. And who knows what Naughty Dog is doing? I don't know. It does whatever. But if Naughty Dog makes a cartoony game, then what? PlayStation's trying to cater to the casuals that actually bought their system. But the casuals, I said this last video, the casuals aren't going to pay $40 for your game. They're not going to do that. If it was free to play, you might have a chance, but it's not. And they don't get it. They don't understand it. I mean, I said the last video, but they don't understand it. And sorry I have to repeat myself, but it's just when you step back and you look at what Sony's doing, the moves they're making, and every bad move they make is a waste of years of money and resources and time that they don't have because they don't have the bandwidth that Xbox does. They don't have the bandwidth that Microsoft does. Microsoft was putting out more than 4 times as many games a year than PlayStation is. The only reason why PlayStation has more games coming out this year is because 2 of them are multi-plat. Marathon, multi-plat. Horizon Street Corner Edition, multi-plat. They ain't dead on PC, baby. So yeah, man, it's a slow, painful descent into darkness for PlayStation and Donkey Unicorns and Ponies. They don't want to admit it. They're just gonna be like, they're gonna say some stuff. They're gonna look for negative Xbox news and ignore all of the ridiculous things that PlayStation is doing. I almost feel sorry for PlayStation because it's like they can't get a break, but it almost feels like a PlayStation tax in a way. And it's hilarious that it kind of feels that way because it's like, yeah, they try to do a live service game, Concord. What's the next Concord what's Concord 5 gonna be for PlayStation? Huh? What's the next game that the people are gonna call Concord? it's every game. Man, Marathon is Concord 2. Freaking dollar sign, whatchamacallit? Fair game dollar sign is Concord 3. This game, Horizon Street Corner Gathering Spot, Concord 4. And it's like, that's what Sony's known for now. The Never Forget Concord, the worst failure in video game history. And it keeps going. The legend continues. It keeps perpetuating itself. Every time they try to put out something, that's another Concord. People are ruthless. And I'm glad that Sony is catching this heat because they have coasted most of this generation. They haven't put in the work. They tried to do some stuff. It was not the right thing to do. So, but anyway, I appreciate you hanging out. Like and subscribe. Leave in the comments below. Let me know what you think about what Sony's trying to do, how they're trying to continually make a live service game and continually fail at it. Yeah. You know what Sony should do? This is what Sony should do. Sony should bring back home. Like if you had the Horizon Street Corner Harvest Gathering, whatever it's called, Hunters Gathering. If you made the home look like those characters, I'm like, oh, okay, and then you just walk around and beep boop boop and just do that, they might have something. They might have something there, you know. And it's and I think one thing I noticed about PlayStation, Sony, is that they don't let their games cook. Like they put out a game, and if it's not an immediate success or whatever, they kill it. Well, look at Concord. They spent all that money on Concord. They should have sat there and said, yo, we got to make this work. Let's keep it moving. They had all these little shorts and these cinematics. You should have just ran through the cinematics and be like, okay, well, I guess it didn't work. But they just gave up. They never stick. Like Sea of Thieves, when it came out, it was hot trash garbage. And then they kept on, they kept working at it, they kept doing it. And now it's beloved. I mean, I still don't like it. It's all right, but it's not my cup of tea. I was kind of getting motion sick a little bit though. That ocean, I was like, ocean's too good. It's too realistic. But it's also you got to play with a group of friends and who know what's up. But yeah, they didn't give up on Sea of Thieves. They didn't give up on Grounded. They didn't give up on all these games. You know, Halo Infinite, Fortnite, all the games that are a success. They kept going. They kept supporting it. But PlayStation never does that. They always say, oh, it's a failure. Cut it. Cut our losses. That's what they're known for. That's what they have been doing for years, decades. That's what they always do. So what makes you think Marathon, if Marathon comes out the gate, stumbles, trips, and falls on his face, do you think that they're going to support that? Or do you think they're going to say, oh, let's fix it and make it better so people... No. They're going to be like, nah, bro. Cut it. Cut it. If you don't make the numbers we need, cut it. If you don't get that margin, cut it. Like, what's Sony's margin? Their profit margin number? Huh? I'm pretty sure it's not 30 because they can't get there. I mean, did they get there? I think they're in the 20s, probably, maybe. At worst, they're in the high teens. But I mean, the point is like last quarter or last couple quarters, Xbox was over 30% profit margin. Now they're at 26 or something, like below 30, but still, they're still doing good, and there's ebbs and flows with this industry. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that Call of Duty didn't do that well, that's where the ebb goes. Ebb and flow, ebb flow. You know, it went down a little bit. That's understandable. But anyway, sorry for the tangent. But yeah, PlayStation. As time goes on, it really feels like they don't know what they're doing, and it's not like they don't know what they're doing. They have new leadership, and new leadership has one goal, and that's to make money. And if your game isn't good enough and it's not bringing in that money, that game is done. It's done, son. And this whole premium free-to-play games makes no sense. If they want people to play their games, then you got to get down with what the industry is doing. The market is dictating. This is how these games sell. This is how... When Apex Legends came out, at first it was Shadow Drop. Second, free-to-play. People play, they check it out. And they're like, oh, I got to pay $40 to see if I like it. It's like, no, I'm going to check it out. If it's good, I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to buy some skins. I keep playing this. This is a really good game. This is a dope game. I want some skins. That's it. It's simple. But they don't get it. They just want to make that money up front. And then what? Just let it freaking ride on the vine? They stick. The worst thing about it is that they see the successes in the industry. You see what Fortnite did. You see what Apex Legends did. You see what all these other games did. And you're still like, nope, we're going to charge. And I'm like, all right, well, you're going to fail. I mean, they see what Helldivers did, but that was an anomaly. No other game has done that. Besides, was PUBG? I think that PUBG was like $30 or something like that. But that was years ago. That was like the first one. So. And what else? I don't remember. Anyway, sorry. Tangent. But anyway, I appreciate. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Till the wait.